Hola, Blanca.
Hola,
¿Cómo está?
bien, ¿usted?
Muy bien. Hello there. It's Loren. I'm here at Tanglewood on another beautiful Friday morning, 14th of February, 2020. It's Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day. I hope you are feeling love for yourself, at least, because that's the starting point. I'm glad to be here with you. I am happy to answer any questions. Jonathan says your channel is great regarding health. Thank you, sir. Is it not great regarding other things? Your comment makes me wonder. Thank you, Jonathan. I appreciate that. If you're suggesting it could be improved in some other way, let me know, because I'm not sure exactly what to think there. So the rest of you, and somebody's given me a thumbs up already. That's great. We're just getting started. Hopefully, good morning there, Bakul. Good to see you. If you have a question, feel free to post it. Jonathan says, "Sorry, I shouldn't have." No. Don't be silly, Jonathan. It's okay. Just made me wonder. It was kind of humorous because I thought, oh, so where are we dropping the ball? Sheer says, "Hey, Loren, how long can you go without food and still work out, go to work, etc.? I find I can do that with 40 to 60 hours. Okay, but so I'm not sure exactly what you're asking. Are you asking me how long I can do this? Are you asking how long one should do this? It's not clear. But I can tell you that if you're fasting to heal yourself, to allow your body to cleanse itself, you mean generally. So again, if you're fasting to cleanse or heal your body, you should be resting as completely as possible. It makes an enormous difference. The whole point is to make the energy available for the body to cleanse and heal. So if you're fasting, you're consuming no fuel, but you're staying physically active, your body's going to have far less energy to cleanse and heal. So if that's the goal, it doesn't make any sense to be physically active. Okay, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't recommend it. My clients are encouraged to do as little as possible. Truly rest with their eyes closed as much as they're willing to, because that's how you get the most benefit. Okay, so you want to be clear about that. I don't know. I mean, the cleaner your body is, the easier it is. Now, first of all, again, and we see very clearly, I mean, when people detoxify, people tell me all the time, no, I stay active when I fast, and it's easier that way. Well, of course it is. That's because you're using so much energy to be physically active. In the absence of incoming fuel, what happens? There's very little real benefit. There's very little real cleansing or healing that happens. Okay? And so, it just doesn't make sense. The cleaner the body is, the easier it is to go without food. So, when I fast, I feel perfectly fine. I don't feel weak. I don't feel tired. Most people do, but the cleaner your body is, the less this is an issue. And so I don't try to exercise while I'm fasting. When I'm fasting, I'm resting as much as I'm able to. I may have injured myself and need to fast, but I'm here with clients and have commitments to 30-some people. So I'm going to be doing what I need to do to ensure that I meet my commitments, but I'm not doing anything extra. And I'm going to spend as much time as possible horizontal, with my eyes closed. It's probably not as much as would be ideal, but it's what I'm able to do given my circumstances. But I feel perfectly fine. I don't feel weak. I don't feel like I'm tired or I need to lay down. I just know that if I want to get the most benefit, that's the way to do it, right? And again, I mean, I don't know about you guys. I don't need a bunch of studies to demonstrate something, to prove something, which is just kind of obvious. It's common sense. I mean, first of all, the animals in nature, even pets, cats, dogs, every other species fasts when sick enough or badly enough injured. But what they do is they lay down and don't move. This is the way to ensure that the body has as much energy as possible for those processes that we need to do. Okay, so my strong suggestion is that when you are fasting, you are doing as little as you possibly can. Don't go to work. I mean, you have to work. Well, then don't fast. I mean, wait to fast until you can take some time off. right? This is how you do it without hurting yourself. And this is how you do it without and get the most benefit possible. So justifying it, yeah, but I have to go to work. That doesn't make, wait, make the time, right? I mean, I fast hundreds of people a year who take a vacation from work, take a break. Sometimes maybe it's unpaid leave, whatever they're doing. They're doing it because they really value their health, and they have to work too. Most of these people aren't independently wealthy, but they value their health enough that they find a way to make it happen. And that's really what you need to be doing if you want to see really positive effects. Okay. Bob Jones says, I just had a 20-year-old root canal gone bad, pulled 9 days ago, and had a small abscess. I've dealt with tinnitus and stuffy nose prior. Notice it going away since extraction. Any advice post-extraction? Well, honestly, Bob, if it were me and I was able to, with any minor surgery, with any process at all, I would give my body at least a few days to heal. And if you've never done an extended fast, especially done one correctly, I would do it. I would plan on, as soon as possible, doing a 21-day supervised fast. Okay? It will make an enormous difference for you. And it's interesting, by the way, I appreciate your message. I'm going to talk about you today. I won't mention your name, obviously. But just yesterday, I had questions about dental issues. And I was talking, there are a lot of people here that what do you mean? What's wrong with root canals? People do them all the time. If you look at my videos on that, there are people saying, root canals are perfectly fine. I've had them. And they don't know what's going on. They don't understand the harm that they're creating to their bodies. So I appreciate the fact that you're sharing this for everybody to see, right? I mean, everyone, pay attention, right, to what Bob just said here. He had tinnitus and stuffy nose, and now as soon as the root canal was removed, those things are going away all by themselves, okay? Because they're caused by the damage that accrues as a result of the root canal, the bacteria that wind up in the body, etc. It's just, root canals are horrible. Nobody should ever have one. So that's great. Okay, we have a super chat. Power Drummer 53, thank you so much. Power Drummer has made a $10 donation. I appreciate that very much. And so his questions are, is it okay to eat mild guacamole once per week? Well, unfortunately, my guess, Power Drummer, is that mild guacamole might mean different things to different people. So for me, at 28 years plus living on fruit and salad, what guacamole means is mashed up avocado with chopped tomato and a little bit of lime juice. And that's it. There's no chili peppers, there's no onions, there's no garlic, there's nothing else. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. You can eat that once a week. The stuff that people normally put, again, cilantro is not really optimal. So guacamole often contains some, but I'll eat that every once in a while, but it's not something I'd want to eat every week. That's up to you. But, keep it as clean as you can for the best results. Okay. Is it okay to work at a desk during a refeeding period under your supervision? Well, truthfully, it's not really ideal. I mean, we really want to see the entire process start to finish with people able to rest as much as possible. And so, for instance, during the refeeding period, the first 2 or 3 days, there really won't be much energy to do very much. One really should be resting as completely as possible. After that, energy goes up every day. But I think working is likely to, even working at a desk, I mean, your brain's the second highest consumer of energy in the body. And so working at a desk is still going to be taking energy that you probably don't want to be squandering at that point. So my suggestion would be, if you can arrange it. I mean, obviously, if you can't get the time off, yeah, it's what I would encourage you to do would be to do as little as possible that time you're supposed to be working, right? I don't know what your job is, but if you're sitting at a desk and you can manage to get away with not doing very much, which is what most people do anyway. I mean, I saw a study that said the average person in an 8-hour day works like 2 hours, something like that, 2 or 2.5 hours. They're actually working in an 8-hour workday that they're getting paid for, which is crazy when you think about that. I'd be a model for that, right? Where you do as little as you can. You get as little as you can get away with that week so that you're actually resting as much as you can. Okay, that would be ideal. The less you do, the more you benefit. So close your eyes unless they can see you. Rest as much as possible. Do whatever you need to minimize your effort and expenditure, and you'll get the most benefits. Okay? Hope that makes sense. And again, thanks very much for the donation. And we have another one here. Cheryl Snow. Thank you, Cheryl. Cheryl has made a $15 donation. I appreciate that very much, Cheryl. Cheryl says, "Hi, Loren. I'm on an all-fruit diet. Do you think I can heal my skin cancer if I'm on it for 6 months or longer with no fasting, along with celery juice? Can't afford to come to your center or Skype." Well, I don't know, Cheryl. I mean, each case is different, and it depends on the severity of cancer. It depends on the overall condition of the body, how much vitality you have, how much toxicity there is in general, the strength of the immune system. Now, I mean, cancer tells us that there's significant toxicity and relatively poor immune function, because that's what causes cancer. So where cancer occurs, skin cancer is a little different because obviously, exacerbated by excessive skin exposure, etc., sun exposure, etc., you can develop skin cancer, but depending on what type it is. It's hard to say. Honestly, not many people are going to heal cancer of any kind by simply eating an optimal diet for 6 months. Some people have, and you may, but it's not that likely. And so I completely understand budget limitations. I'm still dealing with some pretty severe ones myself here. I mean, we just have so much going on, and we have this issue with PayPal, etc., where our funds are all now frozen. It's made life quite challenging for the last couple months. But this is possibly your life we're talking about. And so I don't know how. I mean, I would find a way, steal, borrow, get creative. We've had people get really creative, garage sales, loans. Sometimes just a good friend with a credit card can pay it for you, and you can pay them back in payments. We've had people hold benefits for themselves. We've had people use crowdfunding, set up a GoFundMe page. It's not a tremendous amount of money that you need to raise, especially for Skype fasting. But I would encourage you to find a way, because fasting is so much more powerful. I mean, honestly, with cancer, there's no guarantees it's going to heal even with fasting. But fasting has got to be 1,000 times more powerful than eating an optimal diet. Okay, we literally see people here all the time who've been 10, 15 years eating optimally and still have significant issues, which they have never been able to heal. And we'll see them heal in 4 to 6 weeks here. I mean, that's an enormous difference. Okay, that's an enormous difference. That's not 1,000 times, but that's 50 times more powerful. Okay, that's what we're seeing. And so now, and I don't know if you're aware of this, but if you need to with Skype fasting, you can pay 50% up front, and you can pay the balance in monthly installments. Okay, so it's not really that difficult. Depending on other situations and conditions, for most people with cancer, I'd recommend fasting 5 or 6 weeks or more. Each person's different, but at least let's say 4 weeks, right? 26 days. That's a 5-week process with me. That should be the minimum. That's $2,500, and that means $1,250 up front. The balance over time in monthly installments. You can take a year to pay it off if you need to. Hopefully that's not so difficult, and maybe you can find someone who can help you. As I said before, get creative. There's always ways to raise a little bit of money, and I'm confident that if you use your good brain, you will find a way to make that possible for yourself, because it's so much more powerful and so much better than doing it without guidance. I mean, I wouldn't recommend that either. That, you're talking about your life, do what you have to do. right? We've had people so far. I think we've had 6 people that I know of who sold a car so they could come here. We've had 2 different people, sell their home to afford their coming here. I mean, they gave them more than they needed to come here, but they didn't have cash otherwise, and that's the way they saw to do it. Whatever it is, I mean, when it's important enough to you, your health, you'll find a way to make it happen. People always do, and I'm confident that you can too. I would be very happy to help you. I think there's a good chance you can survive this, but fasting is going to be your best bet. Okay, so I would encourage you to find a way. Feel free to email me, Loren@TanglewoodWellnessCenter.com, if you have additional questions that you want to talk about a process. We can cover that there. Okay. All right. Let's go back then. Where were we here? So back to Bob, who says, been eating your diet for a month and a half, feeling great. Supposedly woke people say that's a crazy diet, so I figure I must be over the target. First they call you crazy, then they call you for advice. Exactly. Yeah, I mean, the diet done properly is going to work miracles for everyone, and it sounds like you're doing great, Bob. So good job. Yeah, I mean, post-fast, post-extraction, keep your diet as clean as possible, and then find a way to fast, because it is so powerful, you won't believe what happens. And this is the thing. We have people all the time. There's a young woman here who had a really hard time, was vomiting frequently, couldn't get enough water in, had to break her fast prematurely, was really disappointed. She only fasted, I think, 16 or 17 days out of the 30 that she planned. And yet she's been dealing with fibromyalgia for a long time and is telling me today, I feel amazing. I haven't felt this good in 15 years. That's a relatively short fast for us. And she didn't come close to getting enough water. I mean, I imagine what might have happened had she actually done what she really needed to. Okay. Setting yourself up with 21 days, it's mind-blowing the difference. And a lot of people, some of you listening, I appreciate the fact that you're fans and this stuff makes sense to you. And you show up and you're making donations. I really appreciate that. I wish I could really get people to understand that you can take your health and vitality to a level that most people can't even imagine is possible. Okay? That's what's really possible for you. Okay? All right, let's continue. Buckle says, when coming off fast or reduced diet, does the body get constipated easily? When coming off a fast, if you're eating properly, there's no constipation, not from what you're eating. But if you are like most people, there's a whole backlog of old, hard material in the system. And if someone fasts long enough and properly, drinking enough water and resting as completely as possible, that stuff is going to begin moving and you might get blocked, right? So let me share with you something that occurred recently. I had a client leave here, a guy around 50, very fit and strong, but a guy had been dealing with some health challenges. And the kinds of health challenges, I mean, I see this with a lot of things where I identify it and say, before I ever met him, I said to him, sounds to me like there's a significant backlog of stuff in your colon. So I don't know, maybe he comes, he fasts for 21 days, and he leaves here, feeling much better, etc. He writes to me 8 days after he gets home and says, haven't had a bowel movement since I left. He said, I've been following the program. I'm drinking all the water. I'm eating the foods you've told me to eat, and I'm still not eliminating. And he said this has been going on for 8 days. But on that 8th day, he went to have his last meal of the day, was going to be several mangoes. As he was finishing, I think, his 3rd mango, he felt something moving in his belly, went to the bathroom, and had, over the course of the next hour, had 5 massive bowel movements, he said. 5 massive bowel movements. By the way, he had gained, and from the time he left here at 145 pounds. And over that 8 days, he was up to 151, right? So he's eating and not eliminating, not evacuating anything, eating 3 times a day. So he gained 6 pounds. So he has 5 massive bowel movements within an hour, and then continues to eliminate through the evening, through the night, into the morning. He's waking up and having bowel movements, has bowel movements when he wakes up in the morning. And that next morning, he gets on the scale, and he's 141 pounds. So in 12 hours, he lost 10 pounds of old hard material. Okay, so when we talk about, understand, if he's just eating, and those of you who've done this already, who've eaten the way I recommend, already know this, that if you're eating fruit and salad, your bowel movements are going to be quick, easy, painless, clean, and odor-free. That's what happens. Okay, they don't smell bad. It takes a moment and you're done. This is what happens. If it doesn't meet all 5 criteria, if you have a bowel movement that's not quick, easy, painless, clean, and odor-free, when I say clean, I mean you wipe and there's almost nothing there on paper. If that's not happening, it means there's old material. So if he's just eating mangoes and salads and watermelon, which is what we eaten that last day, what happens is those bowel movements are quick and easy. There's nothing that's going to prevent them from coming out unless there's a blockage of old material, which is what had happened. The system was blocked and something wasn't able to leave his body. Okay, so I didn't respond to him. That message was sent 8 days after he left. I didn't respond for 3 or 4 days. And I wrote back and said, when I finally got around to it, said, okay, that's amazing. That's great. How you doing now? He said, well, in fact, I haven't had another bowel movement since that morning when I weighed in at 141. I didn't eliminate any more. I said, oh, okay. Well, so clearly, again, he's 3 or 4 more days of eating, 3 meals a day, no bowel movements. What does that mean? It means there's something blocking the way. That's what it means. There's no other way to interpret this. I mean, it's entirely possible that there's something happening in the colon that doesn't allow stuff to pass, but he passed all that material. He passed 10 pounds of old stuff, mostly old material, right? Maybe it was half and half. It was several days worth of food. So, but that's a lot of stuff. So he now is at the point, right now it's been 3 weeks. Tomorrow, I think, since he left, he's now eliminating, or 4 weeks, he's now eliminating 5 to 6 times a day. Okay, and the old material every time. It's a mixture of old and new. This is what happens, right? Getting the stuff out changes everything. Fibromyalgia. The girl with fibromyalgia she had bowel movements throughout the process, right? She was constantly nauseous. Why? Because as this old, nasty old stuff sitting in her colon was getting hydrated enough, and I mean, 2 weeks into the fast, she's still eliminating every day, almost every day. Why? Little things, but why? Because it was too hard and dry to leave her body. As it begins to hydrate, she's able to start moving it, but as it moves into position, she's reabsorbing toxins. This makes people nauseous. A client this morning said to me, it was a really tough day yesterday. I felt nauseous all day, and she got more water in than she had before the previous days. She said, in the evening, finally, I had a bowel movement, and I immediately felt better, like almost instantly felt better. The nausea, all the stuff she was feeling, all that those nasty, they disappeared. This is what happens when you get the stuff out. It has a huge impact on our health, and most people have no idea. All right, let's see. We have another super chat. Michael H. Michael, thank you for your €10 donation. Michael says, is it safe to fast 30 plus days for a 142-pound, 6-foot male? Is it dangerous to fast using distilled water, or would you recommend carbon block water filter if you could choose only between those two? Okay, so first of all, assuming the fast is done properly, and again, you guys know this if you've been around, I would always recommend having guidance. It's the only really sane way to do this because you have to know what you're doing. You've heard me say this before probably, but every week I get 4, 5, 6 messages from people asking for my help because they fasted on their own and have problems. I'm talking to a woman now who fasted on her own and severely dehydrated and didn't know what she was doing. It makes such a huge difference to have someone really understanding the process and exactly what needs to happen and what should not happen and what's okay etc. So it makes a big difference. But assuming that that's all handled, it's no problem at all. People who are lean go through weight more slowly. At 6 feet, 142 pounds is only a little bit, excuse me, a little bit below what's considered a healthy range. I mean, even normal height weight charts would say at 6 foot, you should maybe be no lighter than about 145. The truth is everybody should be on that end of the spectrum, right? Because leaner is, I mean, there are sick people who are very thin, but the healthiest members of every species who don't need excess fat for temperature regulation tend to be among the leanest. So at 142 pounds, you're only a few pounds light. It's really, Michael, it's nothing to worry about. Obviously, you're here, so you know my YouTube channel, and you might be aware, because I've said this before, but the woman who produces my videos now for more than a year started as a client, fasted with me 3 times, is now here as a volunteer, and her role is doing the videos, and she's doing an excellent job. By the way, she had no experience, had never edited a video, had never used any of the software. No, smart woman. She figured it out pretty quickly and does an amazing job with these things, I think. But when she first came to me, she's 5'7". You're talking pounds and feet, so I guess you understand pounds and feet. So she's 5'7" and weighed 88 pounds. Okay, 88 pounds at 5'7", which makes her very light for her height. It turned out she had an issue she wasn't aware of that was preventing her from properly, from being able to maintain weight. But she fasted 21 days. It's no problem. If you look on the channel, look at the interviews. There's an interview with a young man named Remo, who fasted with me for, I forget exactly, it was like 53 days, something like that. And he started out 6 feet tall, 130 pounds roughly, 130, 132, somewhere in that range. Okay, we see people like this all the time. It is not an issue. If it's done properly, your weight is not an issue. You can be much lighter than you are and still have no problem whatsoever. Okay. As for the second question, is it dangerous to fast using distilled water? Would you recommend something else? I would recommend anything else. Okay. I would recommend anything else. Distilled water is harmful. It removes electrolytes from your body. It's one thing if you're eating food. I mean, it still makes no sense to me to be constantly taking water, taking electrolytes out of the bloodstream, which is what happens. Distilled water enters your bloodstream and it is hungry. Okay, it's hungry because it has a negative charge, and so it's going to be attracted to anything with a positive charge. So now the advocates say, well, it only pulls out the positively charged pollutants in your bloodstream. Well, that's a fantasy. Let's not stick our heads in the sand or believe stupid stuff because we want to. The truth is that if you know how magnets work, right? If this is a positive pole and this is a negative pole, it doesn't matter. I mean, anything negatively charged is going to be attracted to the positive pole of this. Anything positively charged is going to be attracted to the negative pole of this. That's how it works. It turns out that 4 of our primary electrolytes are positively charged. Some pretty important ones, like sodium, potassium, magnesium, and I forget which one the other one is. But these are all electrolytes that we need to maintain in healthy ranges, and drinking distilled water is taking it out of your body. So I would never use distilled water. I'd never recommend using distilled water under any circumstances. It doesn't make sense to take something that's actually harmful to us and try to fix it. I mean, what I would suggest is, depending on where you are, see if you can find clean spring water. Get a bunch of glass bottles, fill them up, fill up gallons and gallons and gallons of water so you have enough to make it through the process. Probably to be safe, you need at least 1.5 gallons per day for the process. You may drink less some days, you may need more other days. But that would be maybe a reasonable estimate of the total. But I would never use distilled water. Okay, hope that helps. Let's see. Let me go back here and see what else we have. Jamal's asking a similar question. Could I do a 21-day fast with you if my weight is 135, my height is 5'9"? Not a problem, Jamal. It's not, I mean, again, this is not even an issue. At 5'9", 135 pounds, believe it or not, is within the healthy range for your height. You're not even too thin. I mean, it might feel like you are to you, and it might well be that based on your body composition. I mean, we see people all the time who look really, really skinny. And they'll say to me, I think my body fat's too low to keep going. And we'll look at it and I'll say, well, you got more body fat than I do. Okay. So why do they look so thin? They don't have enough muscle mass. Okay. But it's not an issue, because if your body composition is like that and you're mostly body fat, that's what your body's going to be running on for fuel. So someone who is skinny fat in that way is actually has an easier time in many ways. Their body's going to have no problem consuming all the fat it wants. They've got more than most people that size. But your weight is not an issue whatsoever. The key is to make sure you're being guided through the process and know what you're doing. I would be glad to fast you, Jamal. That's not an issue. Blood pressure is always around 110/65. What would you recommend? Well, are there issues that you're dealing with, or are you just trying to take your health to the highest level? Tell me what it is you're trying to accomplish, because, excuse me, at 110/65, your blood pressure is not bad. 110 is within the healthy range, and that's not an issue. Where the spread should be at 110 is 47 points, and at 110/65, it's 45 points, so it's pretty close. I would say there's no issue there. Now, could you get healthier? Yeah, you almost certainly could. If you're more than 5, the odds are, and you probably are, the odds are good that you have toxins in your body that you would benefit from giving your body a chance to cleanse. 21 days would likely be unbelievably powerful for you. Okay, it's an unbelievably powerful process. And so 21 days would be fine. You could fast longer. Like, again, the weight's not an issue, but 21 days is very powerful. If you're not sure and you want to check it out first, test it, you can do 21 days. 26 days is more powerful still, because you have about 50% more time in the deepest part of the process. By the way, can you see the crazy kitties on my bed in the background here? So 21 days, 26 days, even 30 days would be fine, but it's up to you. 21 days would be the minimum I'd recommend. After that, it's just what you're willing and able to do. More would give you more benefits. But even with 21 days, you're going to see amazing things happen. What's the role of charcoal as a cleanser? I'm not sure under what context you're speaking of it. You can brush your teeth with activated charcoal. Of course, no other species needs to brush their teeth with anything. People need to brush their teeth because they eat poorly and because their bodies are toxic. I don't own toothpaste and haven't used it for many, many years. When you get your body clean, there's no, brushing your teeth isn't really such an important thing. In fact, I'll mention that, for those of you not aware, if you're eating fruit, the last thing you want to do after eating is brush your teeth, right? You brush your teeth before you eat. You wait at least a few hours after eating fruit to brush your teeth, because the acids in most fruit will actually soften your enamel and take a microscopically thin layer of enamel off your tooth, which is wonderful because that's where all the plaque lives. Okay, this is why a study reported 20 or 25 years ago said that eating an orange or an apple was more than 3 times as effective as brushing your teeth at removing plaque. Okay, but yeah, other than that, I'm not sure. There's many ways people use charcoal. I don't use it for anything. I'm not really sure what it is you're thinking about there. Witchery Moon asks, does an all-fruit diet cause a fatty liver since fructose is only processed by the liver? No, not at all. An all-fruit diet causes all of your organs to be as healthy as possible. Our bodies are set up to run on fruit and simple salads. There's nothing else we need. There's no other food we need to eat. All the nonsense about the fructose and fruit being harmful to us, it's not. It's not a problem whatsoever. Okay, our liver doesn't become fatty from having to process food. I mean, it's intended to process certain things. That's what it's for, right? We're not harming it by eating the food we're intended for. Now, when we eat fractionated fructose, right, high fructose corn syrup and things like that, yes, then we're creating a problem. But that's completely different. This is a very different animal. Okay, that's not the same thing at all. So, no, you don't have to worry about eating fruit. It won't harm your liver in any way. In fact, we see people with liver disease getting healthier all the time. By the way, I reported on a gentleman here before, I think, but we have a gentleman who finishes his process. He's an older guy in his 70s. He finishes his process with us today, leaves first thing tomorrow morning, and he came in with blood sugar, type 1 diabetes. Blood sugar was 278. Today, it's 95. Okay, it's in the healthy range. It's been in the healthy range for the last couple of days, but and he's living on fruit, right? So all the common ideas about fruit being sugar, the sugar in fruit being harmful to us, it's nonsense. It's people don't have any idea what they're talking about. And I understand how they can be confused because they intellectually they have this concept, but they fail to understand a very simple fact. Our bodies are almost identical, our digestive systems, to the chimps and bonobos. We are fruit eaters, and when we eat fruit, every single aspect of our health skyrockets. Every single aspect. So this guy who came with hypertension and high blood sugar is leaving with healthy, below normal blood pressure and healthy blood sugar. Okay, and that's what happens to everybody who is willing to do what they need to do. Now, whether he maintains the optimal diet or not, I don't know. If he's willing to, it's not going to change. It's going to stay there. I mean, he was concerned just 2 weeks ago. He started eating or so, about 2 weeks ago, and his blood sugar was still in the 120s, and he's thinking it's still too high. I'm not going to be able to eat fruit. And then it went up. It was going up because he wasn't drinking enough water. So his blood volume was dropping, and the sugar was more concentrated. And by increasing his, I mean, even now, his spread is too small, which means his blood volume is too low, and his blood sugar is now in the healthy range. If he does a better job of hydrating his body, his blood sugar will come down even more. Okay, so this again, it's just nonsense, and there's really nothing to worry about. Done properly, there's nothing better for you than except fasting. All right, there was just a I just lost it there. Boy, I don't know. I have to go find it now. There's another super chat which just showed up. Let me scroll down here and see if I can find it. There it is. Michael H. has asked, made a comment here. He says, thanks for the answer before. That was helpful. Which device do you use to measure hydration? How does it work? Can I get it somewhere? Yeah. I don't know that it's really critical. I mean, there's a couple things that we do here that you can do. First of all, there's a very simple test. You can check to see how quickly the skin below your knuckles. So I don't know if you can see very well here, but let me put some light on my hand. You lay your hand flat. You pick up the skin on your hand just below your knuckle. Now notice mine immediately snaps back down. Most people my age, that doesn't happen. Okay, as we get older, we lose skin elasticity, and so if someone is really dehydrated, you pull it up, and it's going to take a while for that to go back down. It should immediately snap back down, as is happening here. I let go, it's immediately flat again. That's what should happen. Okay, so you can do that. I mean, that's one way to see. I mean, that's not, it's not measuring anything. It's just giving you an indicator. You can check your blood pressure. Check your blood pressure because your spread is an indicator of blood volume. Blood is important enough that if your body is fully hydrated, your spread will always be where it should be, right? Your body will make enough blood if it has the ability to. There's enough water, it's going to make enough blood. So that's another way. You can just check your spread. And again, it's not an indicator. It's not really measuring hydration. It's actually giving you a sense of what your blood volume is. But blood volume, if the spread is low, then you're not fully hydrated, okay? Now so I'm doing those things, but I'm also using a bioimpedance device. The one we have was about $500 when we got it, and it's made by a company called Tanita. There's many other options out there. It may not be the best one. It looked to be the best one at the time I bought it, but I've seen other devices that are also excellent. And the key is, I mean, that you can buy a bioimpedance scale for probably $50. I wouldn't bother. I've worked with people, many people, via Skype who have these devices, and what they find is that they see crazy things like, huge swings in hydration, for instance, from one day to the next. That's not possible. It can't happen. It's not going to change so rapidly. It's going to change much more slowly over time. And so if that spread isn't where it should be, if what was I saying? So with the scale, with a good scale, you actually get valid numbers that don't change wildly, and then we know we can trust them. And it's going to tell you what your level of hydration is. Okay, it'll measure the water in your body. I then use a formula that I came up with, and I've recently realized, even to a greater degree, the limitations of that formula, the more obese somebody is. So it doesn't work for people who are really overweight. We're going to get numbers that are far off. And the reason is because we're pretending that all the water in the body is in the lean tissue. It's not true. Fat contains some water, but it contains very, very little. But obviously, if someone is 65% fat, the water in their fat is going to be significant, and it's going to throw off their lean hydration numbers. Because what we really want to know is how hydrated is your lean tissue, and these devices don't do that. So I'm going to have to revise my formula, and I've been looking for valid numbers on percentage of water and fat, and so far haven't come up with a good number yet. So I don't have that for you. But you could get a device like that. I'm just not sure it's really necessary. All right. So folks, I'm sorry that I have to go now. I don't have time for any more questions today. I apologize. I'll be back next Friday. You can probably already see the value of the Super Chat because when someone makes a donation, the policy is I go right to those questions and comments. And so if you want to be sure your questions and comments get answered, this is one way to do it. I appreciate it. It actually makes this possible for me. It's right now we're so busy. We're so challenged with what we're doing with this project to come up with the money to keep moving the project forward. Because so far I've invested $100,000 in the last year or two, and I don't have any more money to invest. That's everything I had. There isn't anything else, and we're looking for people willing to step up to the plate, join the community, buy a lot, which they can do now, and that helps us move it forward, etc. Investors who actually have a bunch of cash to put up. You may know that this time last week, I had a consultant here for a week helping me work on something to put together the package for investors. So we just got another Super Chat. I'm going to take a look at this one. Joel Marbo says, good morning. Joel, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I appreciate the donation. Joel's not asking a question. He's just saying good morning. And good morning to you. Good morning to everybody. This is Valentine's Day. As I started out, most of you weren't here at the very beginning. I started out by saying Happy Valentine's Day. And I hope you are feeling tremendous love in your heart for yourself, because it starts there. We have to love ourselves. We can't really love anyone unless we love ourselves. If you're having trouble loving yourself, then there's some work to do. I can help you with that. But just cleaning out the body changes that dramatically as well. But it's so important, right? Love really is what it's all about. I believe that's what we are, part of that divine creative energy of the universe, which people call God. I call it love. And once we let go of all the garbage in the body and all the garbage beliefs we have about how we're not good enough and unlovable, etc., everything changes. Okay, everything changes for us. So good morning, everybody. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. Much love to each of you, and I'll look forward to seeing you again next week. Okay, bye-bye.